Hey guys, welcome to Couch Kernels. I'm DeadMedia, and even though this is only my third video, it doesn't change the fact that right now, it's October. The time of year we all focus on the spoopy. I myself normally do marathons of entire slasher franchises this month. Original entries only, no reboots. With a big goddamn bowl of candy.
And in fact, a large fat man.
So why don't we just go for it and have a theme month? We'll call it Spoop Month. In fact, here. Decorations. Bat. He needs a name, doesn't he?
Say my name.
Obvious choice would be some kind of pun. The worse the better. I've got it. Let's call him Phil. Anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, let's get on with the review. Today's movie is called The Traveler. My copy looks like shit, but that's because I bought it used and ended up buying the disc only, so I had to print out a cover for it. Badly. Regardless, let's go over the criteria for today. Today, we'll be looking at dialogue, acting, soundtrack, plot and writing, effects, and today we have a special secret criteria which can earn the movie a bonus point. Since it is a bonus, that means it is possible for this movie to score a 6 out of 5 today, but it would have to be pretty special. Now, audiences and critics alike really didn't care for what this one brought to the table, but I actually enjoy it. I don't watch it a lot, but I don't think it's terrible. Anyway, let's get started with plot and writing. The story of this one goes that at Christmas time, at a small town police department one night, a stranger walks in and informs the desk sergeant that he would like to confess to a murder. The desk sergeant freaks out and pulls a gun on him before some of the other officers in the building arrive, which eventually includes the detective on duty that night. The detective kinda seems like he's going through the motions a bit, as he's going through a very tough time in his life. You see, a year prior, his daughter was out playing with her cat, Shining. That was weird. Anyway, she's playing with the cat when she was abducted. We later find out that after her abduction, a drifter was found in the area where she went missing and brought in for questioning. However, the detective, who should not have been involved with the case, tried to beat a confession out of the drifter, with the help of the other cops in the department. They actually used torture tactics on the guy, the kind of shit the US reserves for inmates at Guantanamo. But back to the present. They take the stranger and try to process him as normal, but various things start going wrong. Pictures aren't turning out, light bulbs are blowing all over the precinct, the stranger can't even be printed, and he won't give a name. He also seems to move around the different cells when the cops go looking for him in the one they put him in. Then, and without giving too many details, the cops all begin to die off mysteriously one by one. Also, wait, what did I say back there about when this takes place? The story of this one goes that at Christmas time, at a small town police department one night. Confirmed. You guys, it's a Christmas movie. Just kidding. It's an interesting premise, honestly, and it could have been handled a bit better, but it's not completely squandered like some I've seen. Let's give it a kernel here. Next, let's talk about the effects. This should be fairly quick since, with only a $4 million budget, there isn't an awful lot to talk about. Mostly the gore effects. However, the stranger character does disappear at one point, and that didn't look too bad, but this movie was released in 2010, and that effect was being done just fine in the 90s. On TV. On shows like Charmed and The X-Files. Now as for those gore effects, the biggest scenes for these effects is during the murder scenes of a couple of the cops, and it seriously looks like they're throwing jellied cranberries on the fucking wall in one, and digging through stew meat in the guy's stomach in the other. It's absolute amateur hour, so I can't really give them a kernel. Let's talk about the acting. This movie was definitely sold on the star power of its miscast lead, Val Kilmer as the stranger, or as he's called by the cops and in the credits, Mr. Nobody. Now, Mr. Kilmer is notoriously difficult to work with, but this was around the time when he was releasing a lot of direct-to-DVD type stuff. This included Also around this time, he released Columbus Day, which was fairly okay too, and Kilmer honestly looked a lot better there. Maybe that was on purpose? I don't know. Back to this performance though. He honestly looks like he'd really rather be anywhere else for most of the runtime and puts almost no effort into the bulk of his line reading. Maybe that's on purpose, but when his final scene has no more gravitas than his first, it wasn't the right choice. And neither was he. When you balance that out with the performances of the rest of the cast, including Dylan Neal as Detective Black, the grieving father, the performances come out okay. The rest of the cast puts in fairly good performances for their part in the movie, so this Colonel is for them. Not Val Kilmer. They still get one though. On to the dialogue. There are actually a few memorable lines in this one, believe it or not.
I don't believe it.
I think a fair benchmark here would be a minimum of 4 to get a Colonel, don't you? Well, this one has 3. The lines include surprising ones that probably aren't the best things to say, like, crank the heat down, it's like Christmas in Auschwitz in here. Yeah, someone actually said that. Or an actually solid villain line in, you've gotta love a god who's not afraid to mete out a little vengeance when the need arises. The third was an exchange between a pair of cops near the end of the movie, with one asking the other, what is he, a goddamn ventriloquist? To which the other responds, yeah, and we're the dummies. Not an overall terrible joke, but in a movie that has otherwise dispensed with the humor, it seems out of place. Anyway, as far as dialogue goes, with only these 3 quotable lines, we won't give a Colonel for dialogue here. Now for the soundtrack. There were some odd choices here. It mostly sticks to the atmospheric sounds and instrumental swells for the bulk of the movie. But it goes heavy metal instrumental a couple of times near the end, which, again, feels out of place. Especially since the most memorable part of the soundscape of this movie is the Lacrimosa, which, for most of the times we hear it, is whistled by Val Kilmer. This was the start of the Lacrimosa coming back into the public consciousness in a big way there for a few years. Seemed for a bit, any form of media you picked up had it in there somewhere. It's in a scene in Bioshock Infinite. And when it's being whistled here with the little bit of audio adjusting they do to it, it's creepy. It really helps the atmosphere they're going for, and for that, and the bulk of the soundscape they create in this movie, we're gonna give them a Colonel. Finally, it's time for our mystery criteria. It's pretty simple in this case. Since the movie is a horror, we're gonna ask the important question. Is this thing actually scary? Now, I don't usually get too affected by that sort of thing in movies myself, with a few exceptions, so I'm gonna ask our resident scare tester, Big Country. With him now in the field is me. Can you hear me?
Thank you, me. Can you hear me? I hope you can. I'm here with Big Country, and I've got a very simple question for him. Did you think the movie was scary?
No. No, it was not.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Country.
Thanks, me. And thank you, Big Country. Well, with that reaction, I don't think we can award a Colonel here. Now, it's on to the tally. Let's tip out our bucket and see what we have. We have 3 Colonels. It is absolutely not a great movie, but I honestly like it. And I think it uses a decent premise better than some movies. You know the ones. Awesome premise, shitty movie. Because they straight up don't use the concept they've got sitting there on a silver platter. But I digress. Anyway, folks, it's time for Name That Frame. We're going to be starting a new game this time, as we'll be revealing the answer to what movie we had stills from in my Rules and Boss Baby 2 videos. Now, I think I screwed up a bit on that first round, though, and made it a bit unfair. But this is still a new series and a new game. There are always kinks to iron out, and we can make it better. From here on out, we'll do things that are a little bit more mainstream, but I'm still going to avoid showing any characters or iconic images in the stills if I can. If you look at my TV screen, we have our first still for the next round. This can be from a movie or a TV show, and next time there will be a new still from the same one. Let me know in the comments below if you figure it out. Now, the answer to the last one is... the Scribbler. Now, it won't always be the case, but we will actually be talking about this one more in the near future. If you haven't heard of it, don't worry, I'll tell you about it. But I won't spoil it. Just keep watching my videos if you want to know more about it. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Did you agree with my review? Let me know. If not, please tell me why. I try to answer every comment. But goodbye for now, and I'll see you again soon. Who the fuck names their cat Shining?
Beep beep doo boop beep 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 boop 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 beep 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 beep.